We're going to start off with these spirit-guided messages from your child. My mind works differently than the other kids' minds do. I'm having a problem with my teacher. So you have a kid who has a very active inner life and often looks at the other kids and tries to figure them out and figure out why they say the things they do or decide to do the things they do, because this child wants to understand their motivations, because this child can't conceive of doing things the way that other children do, and so is curious about what motivates them. And in turn, this causes this child to question what motivates themselves. They can get a little twisted up in the mental gymnastics of trying to process and understand the social dynamics around them. And the problem with the teacher feels like it's a misunderstanding, that the teacher has misinterpreted the child's character, has taken a cue from the child's affect, the way the child presents themselves, has taken a cue from that incorrectly. And this is making the child feel bad about themselves. I don't think it's on, is it? No, it's not on purpose. It's not malicious. It's just that the teacher does not have the capability to perceive as much as this teacher, as much as it would be advantageous for this teacher to perceive. She or he is not seeing the full picture. It's weird that I said she first, since I've been using they. I don't know if that's significant or not. I'm just putting it out there. Okay, so I'm going to hold Michael's card until the very end and go into the caregiver cards. Avoid sharing your worries. Children become anxious when they sense that you're worried or anxious. Express your concerns in positive ways. Use a gentle and firm tone. Instead of, I'm worried you'll get hit by a car, say, remember to use the crosswalk and look both ways. Stressing what you want the child to do as opposed to what you don't want to do is key, because what you say is what the child holds in their mind. So if you say, I'm worried you'll get hit by a car, then the child is going to be thinking about things that have to do with being hit by a car. If you say, remember to use the crosswalk and look both ways, then the child's thoughts are going to move in that direction. So, I mean, that's pretty, the avoid sharing your worries part. A child who is this sensitive and who has this much going on in their head is likely very gifted and empathic, and children in general are very empathic and can tell, when things aren't right. And so if things aren't right around them a lot, then they learn to become vigilant about safety, personal, emotional, sort of energetic, etheric safety. And then there can develop a feeling of needing to hold oneself back if what a child is saying or doing is causing an authority figure around them to react in a certain way. If the child sees a direct cause and effect between something they say and your emotional state, and that emotional state is not a pleasant and supportive one or a neutral one, they are going to modify that message. They are going to hold back what they're going to say to you. And it's also going to make them feel a burden of responsibility. That's a lot of power in such an example for a child. A child should not have that power over the adult in the room. The adult should be able to maintain a constant emotional equilibrium. And this is very difficult sometimes because not everything is partitioned out. A lot of things can be happening at once. There have been enormous, really unusual pressures on people for the last couple of years that were not there before, that really shook the bedrock for everybody. And this also makes it more difficult. Financial troubles, all kinds of things, and often I'm sorry. Most of us have wounding that we have not addressed because we're not given the room in society to address it. We're always told that we have to be better, that we're not good enough how we are. And if we're not good enough how we are, if somebody stops and says, well, hey, as a matter of fact, not only am I not good enough at the point you think I'm at, I'm not really at that point. I'm actually below that point. I don't know, our society lately has, or at least part of it, has developed a bit of sick animal syndrome, where animals attack the sick animals, to take them out quicker, I guess. And it's not a good look for humans. So if you have wounding that you haven't addressed, it's not something that you should feel guilty about. Our society, as much as we pimp therapy and so forth, it is still not really conducive to that sort of holistic healing where everything is looked at, everything in your present life as well as your past, to make sure that it all works for you. We don't have that kind of mental health treatment in this country. I don't know if they have it in other countries. I hope some country is actually, probably. Anyway, if a kid senses that something they're telling you makes you anxious or freaks you out or makes you panic, they're going to stop telling you shit. Pardon my language. It's going to get real, you guys. The reason why I'm doing this is that I've gone through pretty much nearly every childhood trauma that you could experience, and those that I have not gone through, I have known someone who has. And I am on the spectrum. I have struggled with bipolar, with depression, with post-traumatic stress disorder, with physical, mental, and sexual abuse. And for nearly my entire life, did not have the voice to even explain what had happened, what I had gone through. So I'm doing these readings because it's very important to me that children have a voice. All I see is wounded kids in this world, and that includes the adults. And I really want that to change. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. Just, might as well be real with you so you know who's telling you about your kid, right? Because it is kind of a important freaking thing here. Wow, okay. So anyway, avoid sharing your worries with your child. Try and stay neutral. Sort of prepare yourself going in that you may not hear things that you want to hear in discussing issues with your child, like a problem with a teacher. There's time for concern after you leave the room. The more your child leaves an interaction with you thinking, wow, I feel better, the more that child is going to open up to you and trust you. Thinking and doing. Now, that's for you. This is for the kid. Okay. Put on a happy face. This is a suggestion for the child. Although it's natural for us to smile when we're happy, smiling on purpose can actually trick our brain into thinking we're happy. Try it out. Smile. Now frown. Smile again. Notice that you feel better when you're smiling. Now laugh hard like something's really funny. This actually does work. I do it a lot. There's even been some studies. I can't even remember my favorite. Oh, pub.gov. Okay. You can go to pub.gov and you can find medical studies on where they have taken people who had clinical depression and given them Botox injections at the corners of their mouth to make them turn upward. And there was actually improvement in these patients because of that, measured in the studies. So, getting your kid to put on a happy face sometimes without, dismissing any issues. You don't want to do it right when they're crying or something, obviously, but, present the idea to them. Hey, let's try, what kind of smiles can we make? Make it a little game. So that way the kid doesn't feel like they have to attach happiness necessarily to the smile, so it doesn't feel fake, because this child, their mind works so differently that it's going to be a tangle for them to do things that don't feel authentic to them. And it can present problems later down the road, because it can put them on a track in their head where they get used to doing that instead of going the way that is best for them. So you don't necessarily want to make them feel like they need to feel happy when they're doing this. So I'm thinking that making it a game to just see, let's just see what kind of goofy smiles we can come up with. Might be a way. And then maybe you can point out afterward, hey, that's so funny that we smiled and we did all those goofy smiles and now we kind of feel better. I don't know. Okay. Making art. You in the zoo. This is an art activity for your child to draw themselves as their favorite animal with all the qualities that they would like to have, like strength, speed, wisdom, courage. Could be a wise owl, a brave lion, or a strong bear. Or I say like a fuzzy little kitty cat, okay? But that's a nice art therapy project. Have them personify themselves in an animal. Draw an animal. Relaxing and being. There are... This is thinking and doing. And, okay, now interesting. Okay, I'll tell you where I'm going with this. First of all, the thinking and doing card is not actually about thinking or doing in this pile. Sorry to shake everything. I'm just excited. Put on a happy face. Okay, it's kind of doing a little bit. Really have to push the argument there to get it to be thinking. So, thinking and doing, this kid is already thinking so much that the suggestion under thinking and doing is to do something to take the mental load off, to improve the mood. Okay. And then this is asking them to take a look at the self-identity they want to create. What qualities do they want to embody as shown in the animal that they choose? Which also ties in with my mind works differently than the other kids. Trying to carve out a sense of self. But relaxing and being, there are two of these cards that came out, and that makes me think also that this child really needs to learn how to relax, or to feel like it's okay to relax, or that it's okay to not try and figure everything out all the time. That it's okay to be like that your mind can be inclined to want to figure things out constantly, but that we need to train our brains to allow ourselves to give ourselves a break. But let's see what the cards have to say. Shake it out like a monkey. Use this fun strategy to release energy or tension in your body. Reach both arms up with your hands flat and count to 10. Then drop your arms and head to the floor. Swing your arms from side to side like a monkey. You can even make monkey sounds. Good, they gave us permission to do that, isn't it? Okay. Anyway, yeah, so this is a way tension builds up in this kid because they're constantly thinking, they're constantly processing, they're constantly trying to figure things out. So being able to get into the physical body is a really good thing for them, and to have it be like a fun sort of silly activity is fabulous. Light up. Okay, now that doesn't sound, maybe they could have picked a better title. Okay, imagine a color that makes you feel good, and picture that color becoming a part of you, entering through your head and running all through your body. The color lights you up and makes you feel great. Okay, yeah, I would have called that something different just because it sounds too grown up. It sounds like it refers to other things, but just having the child visualize a healing color, because a color that makes you feel good is a healing color. This is actually, it's visualization, and it's something to make the kid happy as far as, you know, make believe or pretend, right? But then again, it's also teaching the child to work with energy in a sense, because they're visualizing it entering through their head, through their crown chakra, running all through their body like divine energy. So that's beautiful. This is a beautiful activity. So, you know, they can pick a color that makes them feel calm, or they can pick a color that makes them feel excited when they want to have more energy, or, you know, I mean, they can go anywhere they want with this. And that'd be like another little resource. They can shake it out like a monkey, put on a happy face, or light themselves up with color. Okay. Now these are how to let go of anger and frustration cards. They're 14s. Younger children can use them also. Sorry about that. I don't know what that was. And so can adults. So anybody can benefit from this. It's not good or bad. So this is a suggestion for your child to say to themselves, anger itself is not good or bad, but how I respond to it makes it helpful or unhelpful. Thank yourself for taking time in this valuable, thank yourself for taking in this valuable wisdom that will always serve you well. And it is a very good way to look at things. Because when you look at anger as being good or bad, then it tends to not only make it stay around because it's denied or repressed or encouraged too much, conversely, but also it breeds distorted perspective. Because if it's bad that you get angry and then someone makes you angry, you're holding this repressed anger, and now you can get angry at the person who made you angry for the mere fact of making you angry. And so that starts a whole, like, whirlpool of ick and dysfunction. Because ultimately we are responsible for our own feelings. And if someone makes us angry, then the onus is on us to figure out why that is and take steps to find an appropriate resolution so that it does not continue to be a perpetuating situation of imbalance, which is all well and good, but of course you're not going to maybe give your kid all that information about this. So I just can't help it. This stuff is just going to come out of my mouth because that's why I'm here. And if it's useful to you, then that's a blessing. And if it's something you already know, then, you know, just flip me off and say, all right, yeah, come on, keep going. Okay, so, yeah, having a child view their emotions as being neutral and states that are in flux, it helps them. It's always helpful to observe your emotions instead of living in them. We want to feel our emotions, but we don't want them to become a swamp that we're trapped in. Snap yourself away from it. Again. Distract yourself by snapping your fingers in varied rhythmic patterns. For example, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Reflect on how you can snap out of being angry. Or, you know, being nervous, being anxious. You can put in any emotion there. Again, with this card, it bringing the child's perspective out of that internal, intrinsic, very closed-in emotional reality into a broader perspective. And with this, bringing the child back into their body and into the now, just like shake it out like a monkey. And there's another one here. Put on a happy face and light up. Because these are all bringing into the now. So these are ways that for the child to come into the moment, to learn that it's okay to have a spectrum of emotions, and to be able to sort of get into the physical body, or not sort of, but actually get into the physical body. To break up that energy, because I think what happens is this child gets stuck in that mental energy, and if there's often, it feels like times where that mental energy is not that pleasant because of the doubts and fears of being too different, especially with the issue with the teacher. And that could be a teacher of, you know, school, that could be extracurricular, that could be a caregiver that is homeschooling them, that could be any number of things depending upon your situation, if this is resonating for you. Okay, so these are cards for the adult, for tips that will help this child. The first one is collaboration. Put have-tos before want-tos. So this card is about steering the child into a way of being where they take care of obligations before the things that they want to do. Because very often, with this sort of child that has such an active inner mind, it can be difficult to sort of, well, I mean, executive functioning is still developing anyway, right? And when you have an active inner life, when you got a lot of stuff going on in your head and you're trying to process a lot and figure out a lot, and you have a lot of reactions to everything that you also have to process, then it can make getting the things done that you really need to get done a bit more challenging. So the quote from Ray, age 11, says, "When I get home from school, I usually drop my backpack on the floor, but my dad goes, 'All right, do what you need to do.' It's like unpack bag, snack, read, I unpack first, so I get to do what I want until homework at 4, and there's no fighting. The challenge. Since it's hard to muster up the energy for things that seem unpleasant or uninteresting, kids avoid doing what needs to get done and frequently argue with you about these tasks. Tool. Discuss and identify which daily tasks are have-tos and which ones are want-tos. Map out an order for doing the necessary things before the desirable ones that works for both of you. Remember, kids would rather not fight with you. Use this desire to engage their participation. I think this is brilliant too, because a lot of times the resistance to doing things is not fully understanding the trajectory for doing them, and not even being able to articulate that you don't understand it, because you don't understand that you don't understand it. It just seems confusing and impossible. But being a child who has had difficulty communicating, that is absolutely a condition that happens. And then it seems like, oh, well, if they just, if they just don't want to clean their room, or they just don't want to do this, and it's not a matter of want, it's a matter of what is the best way? Well, how do I do this? So being able to put something in order, like Ray says, she knows that she unpacks her bag and she eats her snack, and then it's time for reading. It makes it very predictable, very understandable for the child. And it's actionable, it's followable, it's clear. And that's the most important thing for kids, is clarity. Don't oh God, I don't want to be somebody saying don't all the time. I apologize for that. I say do. Because your intuition knows. And you know your kid. Encourage appropriate expressions of independent thinking. This is under celebration, by the way. So, I like to decide my own rules, says Sasha, age 13. Usually people in my class only listen to rules if there's a serious consequence. It depends for me. I kind of focus on things that other people wouldn't. So, the challenge here is speaking up for oneself, being assertive, and having bold opinions. Because that can be misperceived by both adults and peers as disrespectful and insensitive. I bet this is part of where the issue is coming in. The tool is honor kids' creativity and individualistic ideas while showing them when and how to share them. Explicitly discuss the difference between thoughtfully stating your innovative ideas and taking over conversations by yelling or acting them out aggressively. That is a very important thing for kids to know, because if they don't know, they don't know. And when you're so active in your brain, it can take a very long time to find out how you come across. It took me, well, let's say last year at this time I was not quite aware. Now I'm learning. So, yeah, when you have just, all kinds of worlds going on in your head, then that can make your communication about those worlds or those ideas or those innovations very frantic at times. And it's because you're impassioned, or you're excited, or you just are full of emotion about it, or you see so much potential or possibility or what have you, and you can come across not knowing that it's a little brash to other people. So your kid may need a little help with finessing their articulation. And I know nowadays finessing means something totally different than it used to. Now it means being a thief, but but it used to mean actually, God, I don't even know how to say it now. Knowing how to be smooth and flow. Make things flow. If you had finesse, there's a very suave sort of thing. Now it's slick, but whatever. Self-control. Yeah, I need some of that. Okay. Smarter screen parenting. Jessie, age 14, says, when I'm playing my video game, I don't hear my parents tell me to get off, or I ignore them. Then they yell and they turn off my computer. I lose everything, and I'm so angry, I'll just throw something. The challenge. Kids do not respond to limits or requests to stop using screens, and things escalate into emotional, verbal, or even physical explosions. Yeah, because they're all into it, and it feels like it's going to last forever, like when you scratch a dog. They think it's going to go on forever, and it doesn't. The tool is replace arguments and punishments with the easy on, easy off method. Give a set amount of screen time each day. Except for misuses like visiting inappropriate sites, bullying, or sexting, they get the first half automatically, but the second half is an earned, much desired bonus. They earn the bonus by stopping right after the initial session. If they can't transition calmly after the second session, they don't earn the option of the bonus the next day. That's interesting. What does that mean, except for misuses like visiting inappropriate sites, bullying, or sexting? Except for that, they get the first half automatically. So if you're going to inappropriate sites, bullying, and sexting, you don't get the first half automatically. You have to earn it. Then how are you on the computer? Okay. Yeah. See, this is why this is left field tarot. You kind of have to wade through some stuff with me. I agree with this. I don't know that you necessarily have to do it. It seems kind of a weird way to do it, to have, oh, well, you don't get the opportunity for a bonus tomorrow. It should be more like if you get off the computer calmly this time, then you get the bonus. And if they don't, then you think, yes, okay, then, and then if they get calmly away from the bonus time, that is what earns them an option for a bonus the next night. Or actually an option for computer time. I mean, that seems to be more, I mean, this kind of, the way it's split up doesn't make sense to me. And if my brain is like this kid's, it may not make sense to them either. It sort of makes more sense to just be like, if you want to use the computer next time, this time you have to exit peacefully. Just like anywhere else. If you go to Disney World and you want to ride a ride, you have to behave on the ride and you have to exit peacefully. Otherwise, they will not let you back in. If you act stank on Space Mountain, they're not going to let you ride Space Mountain again. Yeah? So that's kind of, make it simpler for them. But the main point is smarter screen parenting. So they don't take in so much information. Because the more information this child takes in, the more they have to process, the more drained they're becoming. And the more tense. Okay, the final card here for adults is compassion. Asking for help is tough, and this kid has a hard time asking for help. It's a vulnerable position to be in, and because this child feels different already, there's a certain feeling of almost feeling like responsible in a bad way for not knowing things. Like, I should know this, and I don't even have the right to ask about it. Not that that's a spoken out sentence in the kid's brain, but that's a feeling. It's a feeling of, it's out of place for me to even ask or to even display that I don't know. Because it's very important for this child to know. The inner life is very important to this child. The child identifies very much in that world. And that's why the child needs help coming out into this world, and help in not judging themselves when they get angry or when they don't like certain things, because they feel guilty for that too. This child has guilt because they process so much, and they see so much, and they feel responsible for so much. Okay, that needed to come through. So, kids with ADHD reject the help they need to accomplish things due to shame or frustration, and often shut down instead. The tool here is, before you offer help, empathize with their embarrassment and listen to their frustration. Rather than solving their problems, ask them what would feel supportive right now. Discuss a few options and pick one. Yeah. Go down, I mean, not that they're lower than you, but I mean, when you talk to a child, you wouldn't stand over them. You want to bend at the knees and get down on their level so you can look them in the eye. So you can see the world as they see it. So before offering help, empathizing with how they feel, putting yourself in their shoes, listening to their frustration, they feel heard. And it addresses those emotions, so then they can be gently set aside so you can deal with the thing that they need help with. Because as long as those emotions are over the thing that they need help with, the help won't be able to get in. So, and instead of solving the problem, the whole point of parenting is not to make sure the child does what the child is supposed to do, according to whatever it's supposed to do is. It is to teach the child how to navigate themselves through this life. And the only way that we can do that for children is if we teach them how to solve problems instead of solving those problems for them. We have to give them the tools. And asking them what would feel supportive right now, laying out a few options with them, and choosing one. Doing that is the perfect recipe for them all the way down the line through their life. Because it'll teach them to stop and assess the situation in the moment, not what happened before, not what could happen. Right now, at this moment, what could be done? What would feel supportive? What would make this feel better? In a healthy way, obviously. And then showing them how you determine what those options are. What are your choices here? Showing them the whole process of critical thinking. Here's a problem. Need help? Okay. So, where do we want to get to? Lay down some options. How might we get there? Which one of these options is going to be best for getting this place we want to get to? And that'll help sort of lay a little track down for them intrinsically in the brain. Because of all that activity, all that mental activity, you can get so many different tracks going that you end up being like one of those, I don't know what they call them, if it's a roundhouse or what, but it's where the trains all change out, and it's got all I mean, you can end up jumping onto different tracks that you weren't meant to go for different things. So this is laying out a nice clear trajectory, just like the one with Ray and her backpack, wherever that is. Yeah, that also lays out a nice trajectory. So that would be another thing, is that, you know, things that get clarity is very, very important for this kid. Make things clear, show a process, show the steps so that they understand. And so that they can't go in and complicate anything because they don't have certain parts of information that they're trying to fill in. And Archangel Michael says, new beginnings and a fresh start. The prayer here is, thank you for bringing new opportunities and offering support, and for helping me release and heal my past. Fill me with trust as I experience these life changes. So that stands on its own for those that are having new beginnings. But, of course, every day is a new beginning. Every day is a fresh start. And for this reading, it speaks to teaching your kid how to set, or how to push the reset button, how to clear their energy, how to clear their day, how to clear the cobwebs, the clouds, the tangled energies that build up as they're trying to figure everything out. And showing them that you can always start fresh. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, sometimes that's the far preferable thing to do. Yeah, because you want them to see that in a physical sense, but you also want them to see that in a mental sense, so they don't have to, you know, be tied to anything that they have thought or perceived. Not so much that they don't know what's correct and what's not, what's real and what's not for them, but just that it's okay to change your mind on something. You know, maybe you didn't like that person yesterday and they're okay today. That's okay. It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean you're a hypocrite. Or vice versa. Maybe you liked that person yesterday and then you saw something about them and you're like, oh my God, I cannot be friends with that person. Then that's totally okay too. And that's what this kid needs to know. It's okay to change your mind about things. It's okay to change your feelings about things. That is all part of growth. And every day can be a fresh start. It's all in the steps that you put in. You know, it's all in the momentum you put in that first step, and then that next step after it, and the step after that. And if you don't like where you go, you can go somewhere else. So, I guess really it's mostly a mental thing for this child. Getting stuck in brain loops, or hearing something that somebody says and getting sort of stuck on trying to figure that out, process it. I really, really hope that this has been helpful and that it resonates for somebody, because whomever this child is, or the children, because this is a general reading for the collective, I really want them to get these messages, so I do hope that somebody sees this. Thank you. Much love and light. Take care.